Welcome. Thank you for joining me. Grayboardgamer here at the beginning of our journey to try and survive on this raft for 21 days and have at least one human survivor and or dog get rescued on day 21 by the rescue boat. At the beginning of each day we have to adjust the shark distance card in the shark phase. Every day the sharks get a little bit closer, so we're going to go from distance of 5 to a distance of 4. After the shark phase, since we're using the weather expansion, we need to do the weather phase. We'll roll the weather die, and there are 2 sides with clouds on them and 4 that are clear. We're hoping for one of the clear days, and we did. We got one of the clear sides. Luckily, our first day on the raft is not plagued by bad weather, which will take us into the morning phase, which we will do by looking at our first logbook card. And to make it easier, we'll go ahead and just pick it up and bring it close to the camera. The card is divided into morning, midday, and evening. So we're going to go here with the morning phase. As you can see, there's different languages on the cards, you'll see, because it's not language dependent. So if you speak and can read the language on the card, you'll know what it says. So we're here in the morning phase, and you see this dolphin token with the arrow on it. And what that means is we're going to take our stack of swap tokens. We're going to look for the one, there's only one, with the dolphin on it, and it's going to replace the one that's here. The dolphin token has this heart symbol with multicolors in the background and then -3. What that means is you can put a die on this location to use this dolphin token, but it's going to cost you 3 strength to do so. And we don't have a lot of strength on some of our survivors here, so losing 3, you must really want to use the dolphin. And the way that works is, what the dolphin does is flip. So if I roll a die, for example, and I roll a 1, I can then take my 1, place it here on the dolphin, spend 3 strength, and flip it to the opposite side. So for example, this 1 would then turn into a 6. Or if I had a 2, I could turn into a 5 and so forth. But again, using up 3 strength just to flip a die, it has to be a very desperate situation. And that's the only symbol we have on our morning phase. Now we would go into the midday phase. Before we look at the card, we're going to check Scruffs, who is currently on a 4. If Scruffs was on a 5 or a 6, which would have the paw symbol on his strength die, then we would activate Scruffs. At this time, he's on a 4, so we do not get to activate him. Then since we're not activating Scruffs, we'll look at our midday phase, and we have this compass symbol on it with no other symbols on the card. That simply means we can go ahead and place our placement die for each character somewhere on the board, depending on what our strategy is. I'll go ahead and briefly go over the different locations we can place the die. We're going to start with our first player here and then work clockwise. So first Maya will place her die, then Fen here, and then Paul. Again, Scruffs does not place a placement die. The first position we could go to would be the flare position. Here at the flare, we could place a die on one of the locations there. You can see it has a 6 on it. We could also put another player die there on that 6. We could even put one here on the 1 equals -1. So you can assign up to 3 player dice to the flare. And what that does is, if we roll that player dice when we go through the locations and activate them, if we roll a 6 on any of those dice that we place here, that activates the flare gun, and our ship will move 1 step closer for each 6. But if we place 3 dice here, it'll activate this, so anytime a 1 is rolled, the ship will go backwards one space. So if you're going to place 3 dice here, you better be really desperate, because any ones that come up, you're going backwards. So I try to only place 1 or 2 dice on here most of the time, unless I really need to move that ship forward and I want to take that chance. We could also place a die here on the Jellyfish location, but it would cost us 2 hope to do so. Nobody has 2 hope at the beginning of the game, but if we did, we could place the die there, pay the 2 hope, activate one of the Jellyfish cards, swim out, grab a case, and then swim back to the boat. And in doing so, we could, and most likely will, take some damage along the way unless we're really lucky. And by swimming out and grabbing a case, we're hoping to gain parts of the kite to use on the last day to try and signal the boat. We could place a die here on the bottle location. You have 2 sections. We have this odd number section, 1, 3, and 5, even number section, 2, 4, and 6. First you would have to go here, and that allows you to draw a card if you roll the die and get a 2, 4, or 6. Once you have a bottle card, you can go to this section, the 1, 3, and 5, and then if you roll the die, then getting a 1, 3, or 5 allows you to activate the bottle card that you already have. A survivor can only have 1 bottle card at a time, so they must have no bottle cards in order to obtain one, and they must have one in order to play it, but they can only have 1 at a time, and they cannot exchange them between the different survivors. That bottle belongs to whichever survivor was able to obtain it. Another option would be to place a die on the swap location. In this example, it's the dolphin, and you would do that after you rolled the die, but all the other locations have a spot where you can place the die to activate whatever the swap location is at that time. We could choose to place dice here on the hope location. Again, you can place 1 die here, 2, or up to 3. And you can see on here where it says 3 point equals 1. So for every die that's on here, we'll roll them, and we'll combine them together if there's more than 1 die. And for every 3 points we roll, we would get 1 hope that could be divided or given to whoever is on these spots. As with the flare spot, if you place a 3rd die here, you run the risk of losing a hope for every 1 that is rolled. The fishing location is a spot we can place a die also, and that helps us gain strength. Here we would roll the die, and there's a chart in the book that tells you, depending on what you roll, how much strength you have to distribute among the survivors. We also have the octopus location. You would have to place a die here if one of the octopus symbols comes up on one of the logbook cards. You don't really want to voluntarily go there, because that means that there's a chance that the octopus is going to attack with every tentacle that it still has. Now I have to make the choices as to what I want to do. I definitely want to have somebody fish, because I want to get these strength scores up as much as possible. Especially get this 1 up to a 2, and we want to get Scruffs into the 5 or 6 range. That way we can activate him on the next round. I don't really want to go for the flare yet. It's a little early, and I don't have any advantage to do so, except maybe with Paul over here, because he has that die that can manipulate he doesn't have a die, he has the token that'll allow him to manipulate a roll by adding 1 or subtracting 1. And I'm noticing something that I missed with Fen here. He gets 1 hope at the beginning of each day when the sharks are at distance 4 or 5. Well, the day started with the shark at distance 4, so he's going to get a hope. Make sure I get that. And he drew one of the regular ones. No bonus dice manipulation numbers on there. I think I want to have Maya gain hope. She has that special ability that once per day she can give somebody or herself 1 strength at the cost of 2 hope, and she only has 1. So we will have her attempt to get hope. I'm going to have Fen here. He already has 2 hope. I'm going to have him do the fishing for us so we can try and gain some strength. I'm going to have Paul attempt to get a bottle. Because with this token, he can add one or subtract one from a roll, which means he really can't fail. Even if he rolls an odd number, we can just add or subtract one from it and gain a bottle. There's a lot of really useful items in the bottle deck, so I want to try and get something right away to get an advantage early on in the game. Now we'll activate the locations, and we'd start at the octopus if we had somebody on there. Then we work our way around clockwise. We don't have anyone at the flare location. We don't have anyone at the jellyfish location or the kite location. So we're going to go right here to the bottle and see if Paul can get one. So we have to roll his die and see if we can get a 2, 4, or 6. We're hoping for a 2, 4, or 6 so we don't have to use our token right away. Yep, we got a 3. I'm going to go ahead and use the token to bump this 3 up to a 4. That way we can gain a bottle. We'll place his die back with him. Now the hope tokens, when you use the ones that manipulate the die number, these do not go back in the bag. These get discarded from the game. They're a one-time use only. And, well, that's going to be quite useful if we can activate it. This will add a plank back to the raft. So that is excellent because I can already see on the next day that we're going to lose a plank. So having the ability to add one back possibly can be a pretty good advantage. We continue to work our way around. Now we come to the hope section, and we're hoping to roll at least a 3 because you have to have at least 3 points. So a 1 or a 2 won't do us any good. So either a 3 is going to give us 1 or a 6 will give us 2. Want a 3 or higher. A 4, well that'll do. That'll give us 1 hope. So Maya's going to get a hope. She's going to draw a regular hope token. Now she has 2, which is good. That means she is able to use her ability to add 1 strength to somebody. I do have this token here that can add 4 strength to different players that Scruffs can use. So depending on what our fishing outcome is, we'll go ahead and maybe we'll use this if we get a really bad roll here. Fenn's a little nervous fishing because he knows those sharks are out there somewhere, but let's see if he can pull off a good day fishing. A 2. Now that's not very good. Here we can see the result chart in the rulebook for the fishing location. Basically 1, 2, 3, and 4 give that number of survivors a gain in 1 visible strength. 5 is the same as 4, but 6, everybody gets 1, and 1 survivor will gain an additional strength. We rolled a 2, so 2 survivors gain 1 visible strength. We definitely want to increase this 1 to a 2, so we have a better chance of holding on to that top die. And then Scruffs will go from a 4 to a 5, that way we can use him in the next round. We come to our night phase now that all the locations have been activated that had survivors on them, and we can see we have a shark attack at location number 1. The game comes with this dice within a dice, and you roll it, and the number on the outside is to represent the location that the shark attacks, and the number on the inside the strength of the shark attack. This dice makes a lot of noise because of the way it is made, so I'm not going to use it for this playthrough. What I will do is I'll use a couple of these double 6s. I'll use the black die to determine the location of the attack, which is already determined by our card. It's going to be location number 1. And then I'll use the red to determine the attack strength. So since we already know it's location 1, we'll go ahead and see the strength of the shark attack is a 5. Location 1 is over here where Maya is at, so she gets attacked with a strength of 5. If the number of the attack is higher than the visible strength, then it causes a wound or they're going to lose 1 strength. If it was equal to or less than the visible strength, then nothing would happen. So Maya is going to lose 1 and go back down to 1, and I was afraid that was going to happen. That's why I made sure to give her a strength, because I saw that that was coming up in the evening. because if she would have still been on her 1 and took a wound, this would be gone for the rest of the game and she'd be down to just the 1 die. So at least she still has her top strength die. After the evening phase, we would go into the attack phase if the shark card was at distance number 1. It's at distance 4, so there's going to be no attack phase tonight. Then we move to the logbook phase. So we'll turn the page, move this over to be our next active day, and we will pass the first player token over here to Fen so we can begin our second day. Our second day begins with Fen as our first player. First we're going to go into our shark phase, and the sharks are going to get a little bit closer. The sharks move a little closer and now are at distance 3. Before we go into the weather phase, I forgot again, our buddy Fen here, because the day began with the sharks at distance 4 before it got adjusted to 3. So he will get another hope token because the day started out at distance 4. And the token is a regular one. No modifier on it, but now he's up to 3 hope. Now we'll check to see if we have bad weather, and no, we got away with no bad weather again. We'll go into the morning phase now, and unfortunately we're going to lose a plank on our raft. The game comes with these 4 tokens with the different character classes on them, 1, 2, 3, and C. I don't know if this was supposed to be like this, but because you can see the C on the back has a 3, same here, and then the 1s and the 2s have the opposite number on the back of them also. And the game tells you to put these in your hand, shake them, let one fall out, and whichever number that is that comes up, that side of the raft will lose a board. But I don't want to shake tokens and drop them, so I'm going to roll a die, and because it's still a 50-50 shot as to which side it's going to come off of if we use the token. So what I'm going to do is I'll roll the die and I'll just use the shark numbers to determine. So if I roll a 1, 2, or 3, this side of the raft will lose a board. If I roll a 4, 5, or 6, this side will lose a board. Again, there's nothing wrong with using the tokens, I'm just choosing not to do so, and this will give me the same probability of outcome. So we'll roll the die, and it's a 6, so it'll come from the bottom part of our raft. We're going to lose our first board from the raft, which is right here on Paul's side. He still has half of a board there to hold on to, so he's not lost at sea. But we want to be careful, because if we lost another board from the bottom here, it would take him out to sea and completely out of the game. So luckily we have that card. We're going to try and add that board back because he's one of our stronger characters, because under that 3 is a 6, so he's got lots of health. Now we'd move into the midday phase, but luckily this time Scruffs is on a 5 or a 6, so we can activate Scruffs, which means we will draw the first token here, and you can see on the back it shows you that you draw these if you have a 5 or a 6. And now what we're going to do is we're going to roll Scruff's placement die. If he rolls a 2 or a 5, it activates this on his card, which will move the shark back out to distance number 5, which would be really useful. Alright Scruffs, now's your chance. See if we can get going really early in the game, so we need a 2 or a 5. Oh, no luck. Since Scruffs was unsuccessful, this token will get placed into a discard pile, and if this supply depletes, then we'll shuffle the discard pile together and place them back on the card for a draw pile again. Now we can move into midday, and on the card is still just only the compass symbol, no other special event. So now we can do our placement, starting with Fen, then Paul, then Maya. Before I do the placement, I'm going to go ahead and use the one-time use token to give 4 strength and the question marks mean I can divide it how I want to amongst the survivors. I have 4 strength to divide. I'm going to get Maya up to a 2. I'm going to put Scruffs up to his max at 6. That way, if he loses one, we can still activate him. And then I'm going to give 2 to Fen to put him up to 4, because I'm going to have Fen go for a suitcase by swimming through the Jellyfish. So Fen will go to the Jellyfish location to attempt to get a piece of the Kite. Paul is going to come here to try and activate his card so we can put that board back on our raft. Maya, I could either go for the flare gun to see if I can activate it and move the ship our first step closer. I could have her fish to bring everyone's strength up a little bit more. I don't want to go for hope. She already has 2. And this is going to change out in the next turn because of this symbol here. So maybe something that gives me easier access to hope will come up there. I could have her try and get a bottle card. She does still have that reroll token available. So I'm going to have her try and get a bottle card. That way we can have something else useful. We will activate our locations, working our way around, landing here with Fen first. He's going to have to pay 2 hope to do so. So he will spend 2 hope, and these are just the regular hope, so they will go back into our bag. And doing so means he will draw the Jellyfish card, and he will start here on the one that's highlighted in red, and then work his way through the waters, getting the suitcase and then swimming back to the boat. So Fen jumps in the water going after the suitcase. He starts here, and it shows a die with 4 pips and an arrow going up. That means we have to roll higher than a 4 to avoid a wound. So we need a 5 or a 6. Oh, we got it, a 6, nice. No wound. He swims through the waters to the next spot, which is higher than a 2. Oh, he got a 2. Darn it. So he's going to take a wound. So his 4 will go down to a 3. He'll swim to the next spot, which is a really difficult one, which is less than 2. So only a 1 avoids a wound. No luck. His 3 will go down to a 2. And swimming to the last spot, which is less than 5. Oh, bad time to roll a 6. So down to 1. Ouch. But he still has both die, and he's made it back to the boat. He made it back to the boat, and he gets to draw off the top of the suitcase pile. And he got absolutely nothing. Ouch. He took all those wounds and got nothing. Well, we know that the nothing token is out of the way. So now we either have parts of the Kite, and then there's that 1 additional hope token there. This Jellyfish card that he used will get shuffled back in. And we will move on to our bottle location. First we will have Maya attempt to draw one, and then we will have Paul attempt to use the one that he has. Maya needs a 2, 4, or 6 in order to draw a bottle card. A 2, nice. We can draw a card for her. And she's going to get, I believe this is the additional die card. So once she activates that, she'll get 3 uses to have an additional placement die once per turn, and that's this white die here that she could use. That's a pretty powerful ability, especially with Scruffs on the raft. It'll give us the use of 4 die 3 times. So that card will go to her. And now Paul is attempting to use his card to put a plank back on the raft. So he needs a 1, 3 or 5. Oh, no luck. Now we would move into our evening phase. And luckily for us, no adverse events are going to happen. There's no symbol there, so we have a quiet evening after a really rough day. I mean, the only positive thing is we were able to gain the possible future use of that extra placement die card, but Scruffs wasn't able to do anything. A piece of the raft came loose and drifted off. Paul tried to get it back, but wasn't able to. Maybe the sharks were too close. Finn jumped in the water because he saw a suitcase he thought might have something simple, or it's not something simple, something useful in it. He tried and tried, got stung over and over again by the jellyfish, had to turn around, come back to the boat empty-handed. The sharks are at distance 3, so there's going to be no shark attack tonight. We'll flip our logbook. Ooh, looks like we have a rough day coming up in the future. Got a jellyfish symbol. We have a loss of health from exhaustion, so got a lot going on. But in the next day, we're going to get to change this out. Hopefully, we'll get something to give us more hope. We will move our first player token over to Paul, and then we will begin day number 3.